We're here today with Dylan Osborne, esports coach in Transylvania University. Dylan, thank you so much for your time and for being here with us and adding value to international students.
Yes. Well, yeah. Thank you for having me here today. I definitely appreciate the opportunity you're giving your students to come to the U.S. and explore different colleges in the U.S. Very excited for the opportunity to have some international students. We have a very diverse group of students here, all varying races, religions, or different orientations. So we definitely appreciate being inclusive and giving everybody an opportunity to feel comfortable and welcome in our space.
That's great. And before we start talking about your program and the specifics, can you tell us a bit about you, like your journey into being a esport coach in Transylvania?
Yeah, of course. Of course, I've always played video games growing up, but
Mhm.
during my time, we didn't necessarily have high school teams and ways to be a part of an esports team. And during my early childhood, but my esports journey began once I went to college. I went to the University of Pikeville for college, and they were actually the second school in the country to offer scholarships for esports. So I got in kind of right at the ground floor as soon as collegiate esports became a thing, and that was really my first experience. But that's really how I found my way into college esports.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big soccer fan playing soccer. I was going to get a soccer scholarship. I actually turned that down for a smaller esports scholarship because I love esports, and that's always been my thing and what I want to do. So that's how I found my journey. I became an Overwatch player there. Also started playing some Hearthstone for the University of Pikeville. Once I graduated with my degree in film and media arts. But it's a very easily translatable into esports skills. Broadcasting your games and I guess getting that exposure for your program and getting the word out there to students. But I also became an assistant coach at Midway University for a little bit in esports when I was also being an admissions counselor there. But back in October of 2022, that's when I find myself in this position at Transylvania University, where this is my primary job, being their esports coach.
That's great. I played against Pikeville. I went for a tennis scholarship because esports when I was there wasn't even a thing. But like, I played against Pikeville. Amazing, like mountain scenery and stuff. Like I was like in the van, with the team. Like, whoa, this is amazing.
No,
So you
yeah,
must have had a fun time there. Nice, nice. And also, like you mentioned, like your program is inclusive. Like wh- how do you prioritize like inclusivity, and why do you think it's important for the students to get this experience?
yeah. I believe it's very important for students to get an experience with a diverse group of people because once you enter the workforce, you don't have that much control over who you're
Yeah.
working with. If I guess learning to be sensitive of other people, in areas I guess you wouldn't necessarily be concerned about, like making jokes that might you know I guess not land with somebody the right way. Learning how you can
Mhm.
make somebody feel welcome is a good experience to get for when you get into the workforce. And the way I maintain that in my arena is I set rules. I make sure nobody's being made to feel uncomfortable if they're you know any different race, sexual orientation, religion. I make sure that it is not tolerated if there's any discriminatory action.
That's great. And because it's your first year, so like, how has it been building the community, and also like, how would you describe the community, like the esports the gaming community here in Transylvania?
Yeah, the gaming community, I would definitely describe it as fun. It's gaming, so it kind of speaks for
Mm.
itself. But I've had a lot of students that have said this is just what this program is just what the university needs. They found a place where they really felt welcome. And in the gaming community, of course, people can always feel kind of ostracized and people kind of look down on esports and say like, oh, those video gamers. But of course now it's a realistic path for you to go down. It
Mhm.
teaches you team cooperation skills and honestly even more so than traditional sports. I would say there's it's fast paced, moving, and it is very, very much like a real sport that, I think some people, outside of esports might look at that and, kind of, tease with it and like make fun of it. But, my arena definitely gives people a place that they feel welcome. And that's really what my community is all about. It's letting people feel welcome, whether they want to compete at a high level of esports, or if they want, we have the anime and gaming club that spends a lot of time in our arena, playing stuff like Jackbox games and board games. People with those interests, my arena is a place for them to find other people that can relate to them.
That's great. And what would you say is the transferable skills that you are looking for, like students in the future when they graduate to like implement in workforce? What is your your aim to like let's say 1 to 3 skills that you would love like for students to have that's going to make them an impact in the workforce?
Yeah. So number one, I'm looking for people who are very team oriented, people who can learn to cooperate with a team of people. I got to be very hands on since in the past year we only had one team for Overwatch. But like I said, I have students recruited for stuff like Valorant, League of Legends, and Overwatch for the following semester. I'm going to have to set team captains and set people that can really be leaders and help facilitate healthy team conversations. Because even in the esports space, a lot of students that come into the esports have come not playing any traditional athletic games before. They've never had that experience working on a team, and so I'm really looking for people that can step up and be leaders and help show people cooperation. And second, of course, problem solving skills. Once you get into a game, depending on which game it is, something like League of Legends, you can end up being so far behind that I'm looking for people that can learn problem solving skills and what path do we take to come back in this situation, and how do we overcome it, and then also how to effectively convey that to the other team or I'm sorry, to the rest of your team, and get them to, I guess, put a single plan in action.
That's great. And so, like, your program is expanding a lot with recruits. Like, when you are talking, like, you can see their stats, experience, okay, about them in the meeting, okay, to see if they are a good fit. What are those soft skills? Like, what are those things that you're looking for a student player that you think is going to be a great fit for your program?
Yeah, I think attitude is a very big part of being an esports athlete. I've seen it a lot throughout my now 6 years of esports experience. I've seen that your mental can completely destroy a game. People can get set in a mindset of, oh, it's over. I'm sure you're familiar with the term, we go next. Just meaning, it's over. Wait for the next game. But I'm definitely looking for people that have, a positive attitude. People that are looking for ways to come back in the game, or even if the game is lost, people that are learning from their lost game. I've seen a lot of people turn their brains off and really stop paying attention to the game. But even in those losses, I tell my players that you have to have a good attitude about it. Think about why you lost this game. Think about what you can do in the next game. Um, you know, I've said to our players, we never lose, we only learn.
That's great. That's great. And from the experience you had, because not a lot of coaches had a college experience, so it's very interesting. So, like, from the college experience you had, what are the best things you wanna transfer to the program of that you are currently now developing?
Yeah, the skills that I really hope my players learn with that while they're here is team cooperation. Like I said, a lot of students come into the program having not played on any teams before. Of course, as I'm sure you're familiar, gaming alone, you kind of get, you know, um, I guess more of a self-centered view on your own skills, and like I said, that mentality of we go next, oh, it was my team's fault. People can, I guess, before they get into a team setting, they can shift the blame onto other people. But that's really what I hope they learn while they're in my program. If you don't have that experience, I hope you learn team cooperation, because that's going to be one of the biggest skills that it's going to help you in the workforce. I hope they take that away, and that's something they can grow in my program, is learning how to cooperate with other people and have a similar goal with someone else and how to work towards that goal with other people.
That's great. And all the other way, like, what is the a thing that in your college experience as a student you didn't have, but are trying to put in the program now?
Yeah, something I personally didn't have when before I went to college. I didn't have some of those more hard skills of like your mechanical skill in game. Of course, esports in my childhood wasn't a very valued thing, and so of course, you may be familiar with the parents saying put down the video games, so that's one thing that I didn't necessarily have. I didn't have that big mechanical skill. I didn't have a I wasn't very familiar with the more technical settings in terms like DPI and things like that. I always played on whatever default was, and didn't have as much time to put into the game because I was set down more paths like traditional sports. So like any students that can kind of relate to me, they've been kind of set more down the traditional sport path and didn't necessarily get as much time into esports. I want students to be able to learn, um, how to get those mechanical skills. Sit down and practice. Finding what's your comfortable DPI, or even a lot of students come controller only and have to learn mouse and keyboard play. I want to be able to teach those those mechanical in game skills, and of course that's what I'm looking for in players. If they already have that experience, that's great. If you don't need the time to I guess learn PC, because a lot of students come console only, or even if they have a PC, sometimes they don't necessarily get as much attention to you know how PC gaming works, mouse and keyboard.
That's great. That's great. And can you describe your facilities there in Transylvania? Because usually, like, students is what they most love. That's what gets
Yeah,
them pumped.
yeah, and I can definitely send you some pictures of this afterwards if you would like me to.
Yeah, of
But
course.
we currently have 12 student computers, and then of course we have my coach's computer in our arena. It's in one of our residence halls. All students have access at least to swipe their card and get to the door of the arena. If you're one of our varsity players, you do have access to swipe your card and get into the arena. It's from I believe noon until 11 p.m. is when it's open. So students do have, if you're on my varsity team, you have more access to that. But we do have open hours that we let all students utilize the space, and of course that's when I'm there, keeping an eye on them. The doors propped open for them. But if you are a varsity player outside of our open arena hours, you do get your private access to that. And that's
That's
our
good. That's
esports
great.
arena. But we
Hmm.
do also have a what's called the game room in our campus center, which is just one building over. That's a little bit more casual. That's for students to come and play on a Nintendo Switch and a PlayStation 5. We do have those available to students, so they can have a big group area, other than cramming into their room if they have even of their own consoles and they want to get a game going on of something. But yeah, we have a couple different facilities for gaming, and I can send you those pictures if you want to share those too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they would love that. And for example, like you mentioned, so all students from from the university can go to the facilities, and then maybe the varsity members have some priority if they have to train or compete. How does that work?
Yeah, so we have open hours, which is
Oh,
depending on
okay,
what
half an
day.
hour.
Yeah. During what day, depending on what day it is, it can either be 3 or 4 hours that the arena is open. That just gives students an opportunity to come in and learn esports. Like I said, a lot of students come in only playing console games, and their parents didn't encourage competitive gaming. They didn't let them build or buy a PC, and they don't have any past experience on mouse and keyboard. Open hours, I really try to encourage students that haven't been a part of esports in the past to come in and learn about it. If you want to compete for one of my games, come in and learn, practice. If you would like to. A lot of students don't feel comfortable, doing it in a group setting, so they have open arena hours for them to come and I guess on their own kind of play. But like I said, that's 3 to 4 hours a day, depending on what day it is. So there's
Hmm.
with more often than not, it's closed, so any of my varsity students can come in and they have the space on their own. And then of course we have our practice times, and our game times are set separately, so that we know that our varsity players aren't being interrupted if they're um, playing a little bit more seriously.
That's great. That's great. And within the years, are you planning on also including maybe for the teams to go to more LAN events, or you want to keep it more online, or what's the what are the plans of this? Because like students ask us, and they're very and they really want also that in person, tournament or event because it's gonna like enhance their experience.
Yeah, of course. As of right now, like I said, we compete through NACE, the National Association of Collegiate Esports. As far as I'm aware, they don't have any plans to host any LAN tournaments, but we also have competed in small weekend tournaments that have been outside of NACE's jurisdiction. So I'm not completely discounting it, but as of right now, there's not been any LAN tournaments on my radar, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, and this is like more like what parents also ask us, like what is like a day to day of a student uh, player, like class in the morning, practice, competition, like how would that look like?
Yeah, so primarily my students have a heavy academic life. Um, Transylvania is a very academics heavy school. That never had any issues with poor academics, but yeah, classes in the morning typically, or depending on your schedule, sometimes my students don't have classes until the afternoon. Some students I've seen get lunch before they even have a class that day, or potentially even some days they don't have class, and that can be a good day to work on homework or work on any projects that you have upcoming. Um, but during those days also, if you perhaps handle your workload a little bit better, they can have whole days in the arena. If you're one of my varsity players, scan in, play the whole day if you want to. We are like I said very academics heavy, so I won't let students compete in every single game we have. Of course at that point you're when do you have time to sleep, go do homework, go to your classes. So I limit my students to at the very most 2 games if they want to compete in 2 games, because I do understand the temptation to want to compete in multiple games if you love those games, but I will limit you to 2 games just to make sure you are maintaining a healthy balance of your extracurriculars and your academic life.
That's right. And if students have to present like an important presentation or have to do like a important exam, and they have a competition in the same, let's say, time frame or day, like how will that situation be handled? Like the student has to talk to the professor in advance. The match will be rescheduled. Like how would that happen?
Yeah, so the first thing is the student comes to me and they say, "Hey, I have something really important on this day." Another good skill to have in an esports player is learning how to effectively communicate with people and coordinate with different parties. Because of course our esports programs in our student life department, of course their classes are in academics, so 2 whole separate different departments. I'm not talking to professors to make sure my students don't have classes. That's a good skill that they learn while they're here, is how to, I guess, mainstream, or I guess effectively communicate with the multiple different parties. But yeah, that's they speak to me first is the big step. We can reach out to our opponents and we can reschedule the match through the website that we have our games hosted with NACE. Ideally, both teams agree to it, and of course with multiple teams of upwards of like a dozen players, it gets a little hard to, I guess, schedule stuff with 12 different student schedules. But yeah, we can reschedule our matches, or if not, then I'll have to tell them, hey, the other team didn't agree to our match. Is there any way that we can make this match time? Do you want to speak to your professor and see if you can get that delayed? But yes, we do prioritize rescheduling our matches over changing their academic life, because first and foremost, they are a student here and that's what they're here to do.
Thank you so much. Like, just to wrap this up, like, where can people find you and your program?
Yeah, so we're in one of our residence halls. Like I said, if you're ever on campus, Thompson Residence Hall, that's where our arena is. As far as reaching out to me, I have, my Discord, my email, and that's another thing I can send you after this meeting if you want me to. Just all good contact points for me if a student wants to reach out to me. But and even our Discord, I can send you our Discord link because it is open to even fans if they just want notifications on our Twitch channel. So there's multiple ways to contact me, and I can get you all those after this.
Sounds great. Thank you, Dylan, for your time, and we'll stay in touch.
Yep. Thank you.